This is the Solana one-year overview reading for the year of 2024. It's currently September 8th, 2023, 2:51 p.m. Eastern Time. Solana at the time of this reading is currently $19.48 USD, and the shuffle file we're about to play was created on September 3rd, 2023 at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video right here. So the overall theme and behavior for Solana, this is a really tricky reading for 1 year, guys. We've got a brief peak that's easily missed, but it's a little bit deceptive as a theme card because we also have a highest high for the 10-year period of 2020 through 2023, or excuse me, 2020 through 2029. There's a highest high in here, and I think the majority of the year is actually pretty bullish. There's prudence advised or caution advised. So multiple, usually when you see the prudence card in a theme position or a crossing position, it indicates multiple false tops or multiple false bottoms, some sort of tricky chart behavior that takes place. Like a whipsaw or something, a breaking through of like a high into like a new high and then making it look like we go higher or something like that. There's a lot of different scenarios that the prudence card can indicate. And it's a little bit difficult to determine just off the bat what it is that it's trying to tell us. But as I go into the week-by-week chart behavior, I'm sure it'll start to stand out. What's really significant about this 2024 reading, which is important to put out there right off the bat, there's a really strong cross-reading congruency between the 10-year overview reading and the 2024 reading, in that we have a highest high as indicated by the correlation. And remember, when you're looking at a 10-year overview reading, you have to give it about a year's wiggle room because not each energy is going to line up perfectly with 1 year of time. But with that said, there's a highest high correlation here in 2023, combining it with the 2024 abundance card, which on a 10-year usually indicates a highest high. So we've got a highest high because the high correlator, the high significator card in the 10-year is the sun card. We already have indications of a highest high taking place somewhere between 2023 and 2024. When we look at the 10-year, we really haven't seen this rally take place yet, which is what the Prince of Wands indicates, a rally increasing with momentum moving forward in time. We've just kind of seen this three crisscrosses back and forth through the same price level, this virtue card stuff. So very shortly, we should see a rally commence. And I think that really takes place in 2024. And what I'm talking about is as far as a cross-reading congruency, we already have these correlations for highest high. The high indicator itself is the sun card. And then we have the sun card as the high indicator in 2024, which is the same year that we already indicated a highest high, right? The sun card is there. So that's a really strong cross-reading congruency. My sense is that we have a pretty notable rally, or we may have several brief peaks that are easily missed, followed by eventual moves to higher price level. Behavior around the highest high, we'll have a notable rally on a 1 year scale taking us into the high, probably a notable rally on a multi-year scale actually taking us into the high, being that it's a cross-reading congruency, and there would be a notable rally taking us into the high on the 10-year spread as well. So it would make sense, being that it's a highest high, we should see higher price levels than what has transpired so far on the 10-year or on the all-time, which is 262 basically. We'll get into the actual price predictions in much more detail, or actually we'll get into the price predictions as well as the trade opportunities in much more detail in the paid version of this reading. And that's where we actually talk about what to look for as far as chart behavior for entry and exit points within those estimated time frames. Behavior around the lowest low, we have a rally that's halted, a rally on a 1 year scale that's halted by a decline through key support, again on a 1 year chart kind of scale support. And that decline through key support will take us into the low, and it will commence right off of like the end of a rally. So sharp drop really into the low. And let's take a look a little bit further into this 10-year, which the 10-year was posted all the way back in October, or it was created October 14th, 2022, 1:44 p.m. Eastern time. And like I said, so we saw this rally preceding a lot of price change, and this rally preceding decline, and then into the three crisscrosses back and forth through the same price level, which is the virtue card. We should see this rally commencing, but this is pretty accurate. We should see this rally commencing here in 2024, really taking us into a significant high. There's also a cross-reading congruency here in early February where we see this rally, the Prince of Wands card appearing, and it really stands out due to clear kinetics. There's a rally that commences probably first thing here in the beginning of the year, and increases with momentum moving into pushing the upper end of a range higher here in the end of February. Another cross-reading congruency. The other cross-reading congruency, we see the abundance card appearing in the reading, and usually what you'll see when there's a strong cross-reading congruency is the significator card appearing in the same reading. It doesn't necessarily appear at the exact timing in the reading, but if it appears in the reading, it's a strong indication. So there's some cross-reading congruencies there. Let's get into the day-by-day, or excuse me, the week-by-week. So in early January, my friends, the way that you read this, by the way, a 1 year should be read with about 2 weeks of wiggle room, because these cards going across horizontally are estimated about 2 weeks of time, but not every card's energy is going to line up perfectly with 2 weeks of time. So you have to give it some wiggle room, guys. Pay attention to the sequence of events. When the timing seems to be off, the sequence of events will keep you on track. Most of the timing should be right on the ball, but occasionally you'll see some wiggle room there. And so 2 weeks of time, each cluster is 1 month of the year, and you have 2 weeks, the early 2 weeks of the month, the late 2 weeks of the month, information about the high of the month and information about the low of the month. So in the case of January, we have out of it a prominent trough that'll stand out on a 1 year scale. There's a rally a rally along a diagonal trend line breaking through a horizontal resistance on a multi-day scale, meaning a secondary resistance on a multi-year scale before pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels. And it looks like we have a highest high, our first highest high, first thing in the year. It looks like it's probably on the cusp of January, February. If it's not on the cusp of January, February, then it'll be towards the end of January. But my sense is that we go from the completion of a rally at January's high into it's like a failed attempt to break through key resistance. on a multi-day scale, and it'll look like we're going to break through based on technicals. Instead, we decline through key support. I think the low is probably first thing, like early in the month of January. The January month's low is early in the month of January. If I'm wrong about that, then it's going to be on the cusp, and then we have this notable rally. But I think we're already rallying on the cusp of January, February into February. That rally should increase with momentum moving forward in time, taking us to an important price level where volume will kind of flatten out around the high. And we have an important resistance level on a multi-day scale highlighted in early February. It's a resistance level that we've met many times before and failed to break through. So on the scale of a 1 year, many times before, probably this early in the year, means that we, towards the end of the month of or the year of 2023, we met this resistance many times. We're seeing it again here in early February. But then we pushed the upper end of a range higher in late February. Significant rally, pushing probably through that resistance, creating a new a new high for the year, or first high for the year. And then we have multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance in early March, a significant decline off of the March high, taking us through multiple support levels. And in late March, we have a period of volatility with a sharp drop that'll stand out in that period of volatility. So there's a rally off of the March low. I'm advised not to chase that rally. It looks like we then end up in a lower price level in April, where we have the death card, which on a 1 year scale is usually like a bottom of an important bottom of some kind, not necessarily a lowest low, but it could be a lowest low based on it being there. I think it's probably, matter of fact, it could be a lowest low, right? Because we've got the prudence card crossing, which you could see more than one low at the low based on that, and it looks like there's a couple of lowest lows here coming up. So it might be that we see the lowest low, and we bounce off that lowest low into a lowest low for the year thus far. It's either a prominent trough that'll stand out on a 1 year chart scale, or it's a lowest low thus far. Matter of fact, I don't think it's a lowest low. It's just a prominent low. It'll really maybe a lowest low thus far, but it's not going to be the same as these lowest lows, is my sense. In any case, we rally into the end of the month of April, and that rally offers a significant trade opportunity. There's also a significant trade opportunity here in early April involved in the death card, and then I left out a couple of trade opportunities here back in February and March. We'll talk about the trades in more detail in the paid version of this reading, and the way that you get the paid version, guys, it's a really great way to support the channel. If you plan to utilize this information regularly, it's really the right thing to do. You go to our website, tarotfortraders.com, our services, SOMeta posts, scroll down to the 1 year report. This is also where you can specify any ticker or crypto symbol that you want the channel to cover. You just put in the year you're interested in and the ticker symbol or the crypto, purchase 250, and it gets you a pretty good amount of information, guys, just like what we're going through here in Sol, plus any multi-year trade type of information. And in the case of the 2024 reading, there is multi-year trade information going on here in the paid version, just based on the highest high for the 10-year period being cross-reading congruency. So we have a prominent crest for the year here in late April after making that prominent trough, prominent crest towards the end of late April, or towards the end of April, and then we decline off of that rally through multiple support, creating multiple resistance levels on the way down. Sideways rotation in early May, and then possibly another prominent peak that stands out in the early part of May that would end a period of sideways rotation. The low in May is an important support level on a multi-year kind of scale that's highlighted there in early May. So it's important to point that out. It may be that we're seeing the low here as well. There's some indication of a low, so I'm gonna mark that off. Right, so there's possible trough here, and it's possible we have a lowest low in here. All right, so there's possibly a lowest low in here around the cusp, or maybe the early part of May, and then a sideways rotation around the low, fast sudden move higher, marking the end of that sideways rotation, and then alpha the high, a decline that increases with momentum moving forward in time. The later part of May is declining down to and through support on a multi-day scale to meet a second support, and then we rotate sideways along that support. Important range is highlighted in early June. It may be that we're seeing the lowest low, and we're bound by that lowest low. So it may be that we already saw the lowest low, and we're bound by that lowest low. But if we didn't already see a lowest low, we're going to see a lowest low here in June, and it should take place at an important range it'll be an important range, obviously, on at least a 1 year scale. Behavior in the month of June, or month of June's high, is going to be a pop and drop, and then a significant decline or bearish price swings. It's probably a significant decline, maybe some bearish price swings and a significant decline in the midst of that bearish price swings in late June, taking us to a late June low. Something about that Ace of Swords is stating out as like there's possibly a peak in there too, an important peak in there within close time proximity to the June low. In any case, that's a lowest low there, and then it looks like we, out of that lowest low in early July, we have a significant move to the upside, even in the face of seemingly overwhelming headwinds. We create a new high for the year thus far, most likely a new high there, based on the cross-reading congruency, where we move higher through key resistance on a multi-day scale, and we break back down through that same price level shortly thereafter, making like a triangular kind of peak. And that decline will be near overbought territory, or near an overbought peak, and we'll sell off from that pretty notably through multiple support levels, taking us into another lowest low. It's probably the same lowest low here in late July that we had back in June, most likely. And then it looks like that low is probably towards the cusp of of July, August, really. There's out of that low, a big move from the bottom of a range all the way to the top of a range, and in early August, we have a failed attempt to break the key resistance on a multi-day scale, followed by a decline through key support on a multi-day scale, followed by price swings as we move into late August. Looks like around the third week of August, we have a pretty sharp drop. It'll stand out on a 1 year scale at least. Behavior around the month's high of August is sideways rotation, and then the sharp drop out of that sideways rotation. So I think we have we go from a lowest low on the cusp for the month, lowest low for the year on the cusp of July, August, into a big move from bottom of a range to the top of a range, and then a sharp drop out of that, creating price swings as we move into a decline in early September. big move out of the decline in early September. Early September marks one of the best opportunities, trade opportunities. I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. There's also some trade opportunities here in July. But in any case, there's a notable opportunity there. And then out of the September low, we have a big move to the upside, a breakout on a multi-year scale, or on a 1 year scale, I should say. A breakout probably in the second or third week, taking us to a highest high. And that's most likely where we have a highest high. If I'm wrong about that and we have a higher price level, it would be in November. But it may very well be the same price level that we see in November, so it's possible. In any case, there's a breakout to a highest high here in September. And then late part of September is a prominent move higher, followed by a full retracement of that move. Early October is a period of volatility and a fast sudden move higher that ends that period of volatility. Looks like the period of volatility is involved in the month's low, because that fast sudden move higher takes place off of the month's low, ending that period of volatility. And then the month's high should be a prominent move higher, and then a full retracement of that move back down shortly thereafter, creating up like a triangular shape near the month's high. The late part of October is sideways rotation. It looks like we have a little bit of a rally around the cusp of October, November. It's a little bit of a rally on the cusp. There's a trade opportunity there, and then in early November we decline from a crest down to and through support. We do a U-shaped reversal below support, come back, reuse it as support, and then a big move off of the November low there that's created in that U-shaped reversal. A big move out of that, reaching for a distant resistance, taking us to a month's high and possibly a highest high for the year there again. It's either the same high or it's a higher high, but there's a notable opportunity there in the midst of the rally into that move high, into that highest high, and it'll be like an unexpected move towards the end of the month of November. The signs card in December at the high for December, it could indicate that we see that same price level again in December, or that the highest high is on the cusp of November, December, but I think it's probably that we see the same price level there. In any case, it's going to be an important technical price level on a multi-year scale that's highlighted around the high for December. Early December, we successfully turn resistance into new support. Late September, we have sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bears, inflow and outflow, so you usually move sideways. Could be wide price swings, it could be a narrow range, but it's usually pretty much sideways flat. And then the behavior around the low of December is we establish support with sideways rotation. There's a big move higher, and then we turn resistance into new support and establish support at a higher price level. This sneak preview for 2025 is erratic behavior back and forth through the same price level, in the midst of which we revisit a crest that was recently a past opportunity. On the scale of a 1 year, it can mean that we're revisiting a crest from 2024, or it could mean that there's a crest in 2025 that's revisited in the midst of 2025. But overall, that's pretty mixed behavior throughout 2025. Guys, if you want to get the version with the trades, check out the paid version. You know how to get it. It's a great way to support the channel. Thank you very much to all those of you that do that. Either way, make sure to follow that rule of karma, guys. Super important. And you do that here at the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, where we ask that you donate 5% of the profits that you make from this information forward to one of these charities using one of these links, and 5% of the profits back to the channel through one of these links. That leaves you at 90% of the money. Spend it out of love. As long as you follow those rules, that's the rule of karma for the channel. It makes you an angel investor, and the universe is going to send it back to you tenfold through this channel, my friends. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version.